Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Tyler's Yarns. Today we've got a super cool guest. I've been following him for the past 2 years. The brand that we're going to be interviewing today is called Shinzo Tribe. But if you like this sort of content, all that sort of stuff, make sure you give us 5 stars, or if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. But yeah, let's get started. Hey man, how you going?
What's up, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, good man. Just chilling. Do you want to tell us about your brand? Thanks for coming on as well.
Nah. Thanks so much for having me, Tyler. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
So started Shinzo in lockdown 2 years ago. It's evolved into something I wouldn't have even imagined, I feel like at the start this is a big lesson for me that I learned just off the bat. I didn't really have a brand identity. I just kind of went into it and I was like, I love anime. I love skating. Let's just put that together. And then I kind of got a year into it and I was like, man, I'm just trying to do too many things. And I feel like I need to just sit down. What inspires me? What am I influenced by? And I really thought about that heavily, wrote it down. And that's hip hop and street culture, Japanese culture. So I was like, I'm just going to stick with that because that's been my life since I was a little kid. So I want to just incorporate that and not try and just do too many things because it's just going to confuse people, and I'm just going to get all these little micro audiences and it's just going to confuse people too much. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm headed now, and I'm really happy with how it's all going.
Yeah, doing a deep dive into you talked about Japanese culture. Most of your designs are based over Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
Doing a deep dive into why you've gone that sort of route.
Yeah. I guess having family influence into it. My brother's half Japanese, and my mum used to live there. So I've just had it. Mum cooks Japanese 4 times a week. So I've just got that culture. It's just embedded into my family. So it kind of just felt natural. Just my childhood, what I've grown up with. It kind of just felt natural to incorporate that into the brand. I guess that's pretty much why I kind of went down that route.
Yeah, because you said you also get into skate. Because I saw on your Instagram you've changed your website from, I think it used to be Shinzo Street and Skate or whatever, and now you've just changed it completely.
Yeah.
So when was that change?
I think it was a year and a bit ago. And mainly I kind of just changed that because I didn't want to just be mainly, tunneled into just being a skate brand and putting on skaters, paying them, stuff like that, which I would love to do one day. But I don't want that to be the center of my brand. I feel like there's so many other things that I'm influenced by that I'd rather have into my brand. That's kind of why I made the change early rather than 5 years down the track, when I'm fuck, wish I did it 2 years ago,
How did you because you just said you sat down and wanted to sort of change your brand identity.
Yep.
How did you do that? How did you go about doing that?
I guess I was just...
do you just have one day I'm just going to brainstorm and just be this is what I like, this and this and this?
Well, I actually had one of my best mates sit me down and go, all right, I think there's too much going on. And I was like, man, you're right. I'm just trying to do too much. So I guess I was just sitting down and being really honest with myself and being really honest with how I wanted the brand to look in the future. So yeah, I guess it's just being self-aware and just knowing, how you want it to look in the future. Whereas rather than just thinking about the short-term kind of thing.
How do you want it to look in the future?
I guess I just want it, I think me as a person and me through the brand, I just want to spread a positive message, a positive vibe just to anyone I interact with.
Yeah.
And I feel like having a platform as a brand, you can do that on such a big scale. So yeah, I think that's kind of my plan, and just doing that through, messaging or the videos, the animations. I guess that's kind of how I want it to pan out in the future kind of thing.
Yeah, because you're talking about animations just then, you built a bunch of content. This is how I found your brand, actually. I know we were talking about it before.
Yeah.
But it was like a Game Boy animation. with the Game Over, and I think it was your first like hoodie release or something like that. And I was like, fuck, this brand is sick.
Yeah,
and I was like,
thanks, man.
I want to jump on it. And then I was just like, I've sort of followed you ever since, and I've been like, and your content's changed a little, but you've still got like bunch of nostalgia things where I'm just like, or like Street Fighter vibes, or are you going to keep going along that sort of route?
I think so. I think some of the animations that we've got planned for this year, you know, some have that aspect, but some also have, as I was saying, like that positive kind of message about it. I'm sure you'll see in the future, but I think we don't want to just you know, stay just doing Game Boy stuff, because like that stuff is sick, and it brings up good memories of people's childhood and stuff, you know, like
gets you in the feels, you know. When I felt, I was like, man, this is a sick ass.
fully. So yeah, I think we do want to stay on that path, because that is our branding, you know, that Japanese 90s like old school kind of vibe. But I think we want to try and mix it up this year, and we've got a lot of different I think this year, like the product range is just completely different to what we've done in the past, because I think kind of last year and the year before we kind of played it safe. I wouldn't even call it safe, but just like making hoods and tees and stuff. But this year we're really like putting a lot of effort and a lot of energy into, you know, creating like really nice fits for our pants. Just really nice color blocks in our jackets and stuff, and trying to get really technical with it, because that's kind of where I want it to go. Because, you know, making all the anime stuff, it's sick, and like I love doing it because I loved all the animes, but I guess there was no kind of passion in it, because like you're really not creating that. The character's already created. You're not coming up with something from scratch. So I guess I kind of lost the passion in it through that.
So you want to do sort of cooler design, like different designs.
Nice spray jackets with color blocks, you know, like all the vintage like Adidas that you see, like that's kind of where I get a lot of inspiration from. Yeah,
because I think it was one of your first jacket drops. It sort of like reminded me of the Billabong, like 90s Billabong, and I was like, fuck, that's sick as well, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Like that reversible one. Yeah, fully. I'd love to hear about like what are some of your goals for this year, for like even for the store or yourself, like.
Some of the goals for me, like obviously I'm going to start. We're obviously going to start our own brand and stuff as well, but I want it to be all like 90s nostalgia, which would be cool. Like that'll be sick.
Dope. What so like a full clothing brand or?
Yeah, full clothing brand. It'll just be official vintage made, but like, I'm definitely doing this podcast has made me get a lot of like inspiration off all you guys as well.
Yeah, that's sick, man. Congrats.
Yeah, so that's pretty sick.
What kind of stage are you up to at the moment with creating that?
Just starting, man.
Oh, you're just starting? Shit. That's it.
Yeah, so it'll just be like a work in progress, because it's like, I think people like don't really understand with a clothing brand. I've talked to a lot of people before on this podcast. It's a lot harder than it seems. Like even with you'd be like, oh, I've got this hat I want to make, or this maybe like let's just say hats, and it's like a different shape. Like all hats are different shapes. Like
definitely,
I love my hats. I'm a sucker for vintage hats and stuff. But like people have their own shapes and stuff, and I think mine's like a sort of 6-panel, and you have to like push it in, but it's like a real hard shape to make.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like, you know, that like that's a good design or whatever. But it's like the design process is so hard. It's like, oh yeah, I want this shape, like this bend or this one.
There's just so many avenues you can go down as well, you know. And it's like, I think that what you just said is like nail on the head. It's like you have like a specific fit in your mind, and that's why sometimes it takes like continuous sampling to like get that fit, because you know in your head what you want, but it's like you're 3 samples in, you're like, it's just not there yet.
And it's expensive, like to do samples and stuff as well. You're just like, how am I going to do it? Like, you know, is it like, what do I need to change in this, or how are they going to like understand what I want as well, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And
like, is that what you've been sort of like struggling with at the moment, just because you're going into sort of different like pants, you're doing different bigger jackets, and like, because a lot, that's all that stuff's a lot more technical than just having like a hoodie, you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. don't get me wrong, hoodies can be technical.
Well, it depends what shape. You might be like wanting a boxy vintage shape, and it's really hard to create something like that. Yeah,
Pantone dips, stuff like that.
Where people don't understand all like the stuff in the back. And I think now that I'm like building my own brand and stuff, it's going to be a lot harder. Like I don't even know how to use a tech pack, but how did you go about learning all that stuff?
Just by doing.
Yeah,
I think not by trying to just like research everything, and because researching is good, but like it can only get you so far with clothing. I feel like all of the things, all of the places where I've learned has just been by doing, making mistakes, because I've made so many mistakes, lost a lot of money. That's where you learn from the mistakes. You're like, I don't want to lose that money again, you know, like.
You're sort of like, what did I do wrong just then? You know what I mean? To not lose the money.
Yeah, 100%. Just throwing yourself in the deep end is the absolute best thing you can do, and the best way to learn, I reckon. That's how I learned. So, yeah.
I also wanted to talk to you about the jorts. You hit the jorts before they were even like popular.
Oh man, you know what? I think it was last year in summer. So it was like the end of summer, and I was already thinking about what I was going to make for the next summer. And I really wanted to make jorts because that's what I've been wearing. Like I've been skating my whole life, and that's kind of just what I've been wearing. And I was like, I really want to make jorts, but I don't know if they're going to be popular. Ended up making them, and then the trend sort of started right before, and I was like, oh my god, what is going on?
It's like you pretty much hit the jorts and the big boys at the perfect time. Like as soon as they came out, it was just like, oh yeah, everyone just wears baggy stuff now.
Yeah. It's just all of a sudden just out of nowhere.
Do you reckon sometimes that's luck when you're doing it, or did you pre-see that design before that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually, with that product, I'm going to be honest, I actually didn't at all. I just made it because I was like, I just want to start. This is another thing where I kind of sat down and I was like, I really want to just start making what I want to make. And because I feel like that's when you're going to get the best design or the best product. When you're putting like all your love and your passion and energy into it. But yeah, that one, I honestly had no idea that was going to be a trend. So that was a bit luck. But there's other kind of things that you can like foresee or forecast for, you know.
Because a lot of like brands follow the skating culture. Like a lot of, but that's what people don't know. Like skating is a massive thing for even vintage clothing for trends.
Yeah. Like even like the soccer jersey.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of a trend now. Man, I couldn't tell you like countless mates that like used to wear soccer jerseys skating because they're just breathable and they're the best to wear, you know. And it's
I don't know that.
Yeah. Oh mate, they're so good, so comfortable. So it's funny just like watching that as the years go on. It's like, okay, like people are starting to adopt that now.
Yeah, well, it's like, oh, my mates were wearing all these football jerseys a year ago. Maybe I should like start doing a football jersey. Are you gonna get into like any football jerseys or anything like that?
We got a soccer jersey like in the works.
Yeah.
But I kind of
would it be like Japanese style or like 90s sort of?
I think a bit of both. We haven't even started the design yet, but I think the only thing that I really want it to be is like that nice Japanese like boxy fit, like it kind of goes down to your elbows kind of thing.
Like sort of like if you see all those like 90s photos of like the goalkeepers.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. No, fully. Yeah, got so much stuff in the works. Like these pants are like a sample. Just trying to work on like that.
Where was the inspiration behind those pants? Because I know, but yeah.
Nah, just came back from a trip in Japan, and man, everyone wears. So in Japan, this is called a balloon fit. Like everyone, I think here knows them as parachute pants. But in Japan, it's known as a balloon fit, and literally everyone wears them. Like construction workers walking down the street will just be in these pants, and it's like, these guys are the freshest people ever. So yeah, that's kind of where I got a lot of the inspiration for the fit, you know, making it super wide, super long at the crotch as well. Because that's one thing I was really struggling with my baggy jeans. I was making the legs really wide, and I was wondering.
Was this for the big boys?
For the actual denim.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put my finger on how to make them like real baggy, because I was making the legs baggy, and I was like, how come they're not looking how I want? And it's because of the crotch.
I don't know.
Because that's what gives it the sag. That's what makes it drop. And I think that's kind of what I was missing. And it was like a 4 or 5 centimeter like difference in the size chart. And it's like, oh, just got the fit perfect now, you know? So
how many samples did you go through to figure out that? Even those look sick. And like when I saw them, I was like, oh, fuck, Japanese style, man. Like,
yeah.
Because like the parachute pants, whatever they're called here, are a lot like skinnier than that.
Yeah.
But those ones are proper Japanese
proper
style.
Balloon kind of fit. I think it took like maybe like a good 4 or 5 samples, and and that's probably like almost $1,000.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's like $150 a sample, isn't it?
Sample, yeah, and then you got to get it shipped here, and then stuff like that. So yeah, it takes a long time, but I feel like if you believe in it, you don't even think about the money that you're spending because you know how it's going to look and how you want it to kind of fit on your body, and I think just believing in it is the best way to go about it, because then you're not going to think about I'm wasting like $1,000 here and there, you know. So,
but yeah, I think like that's the best thing about like your product. You take care of your product, and then like obviously you're building a community because you said you're wanting to bring out positive vibes, and that's what people just want, man.
Yeah,
you know?
Fully, man. That's
and you've grown a pretty big Instagram in the last 2 years, like over 20,000 on Instagram. Like, how did you go about doing that? Because a lot of my followers would be like, oh, how did he grow so quickly?
No, for sure. I think at the start it's a real grind, man, as you would know.
Yeah.
I think towards the start I was putting out a little bit of content, and then I would it sounds a bit spammy, but like I'd go onto people's pages and just like comment, just be like, mad photo, dude, and then that'll their friends would see that eventually, and then I kind of just kept doing that for like months and months, and then that's how I kind of grew to like.
That's how I found you. Just so you know.
Oh, true. Hey, there you go. That's how I kind of grew to like 8,000, and then I kind of just, I think I kind of just realized that I wanted to just start putting out content that would reach my target audience rather than trying to, because I feel like that's important at the start, putting yourself out there and
build engagement with
Yeah, 100%. But I think, now I just kind of want to make content that's going to, draw in my target audience rather than trying to do that.
Yeah, especially because you're like, when you're commenting on people's photos, sometimes it's sort of like a stab in the dust, dust. And like, I think when you start figuring out, oh, like this is what we're doing now, and like us now moving forward, you've got a plan, and which like, you're going to start doing, which is, like, pretty good, and you'll easily find your target audience, I reckon, from that.
I just wish I started TikTok earlier.
Yeah.
I only started that like a month ago, and just the reach on that is just crazy.
How have you found it?
Really, really good. I feel like it did take like a good month or two to adjust and just figure out what sort of content style I wanted to make, and just like what the trends are doing and stuff like that. I think it took me a while to figure that out, but once I kind of figured out content structure and how to like kind of promote a product on there, because people kind of need to see your face or they need to see you.
Yeah.
It's a very personable app, I feel like.
Would you agree? That's the way that everything's going, I think, man. Like you got to like, everything's going to be personable. Like there's going to be people. That's why all these big brands are struggling, man. Like Coca-Cola, like Nikes and stuff, because they don't have a face to their brand.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
You know what I mean? And
people needed something to trust.
Yeah, and like Coca-Cola is a massive company, and they'll never go like wrong or whatever. They own heaps of things, but like that's what they're even saying on TikTok. A lot of people being like, they've just got no face to the brand. They're putting out ad spend with all these like professional ads when people don't really want to see that. People don't want to be sold to, you know? It's
crazy where everything is going, eh? Like, but has your experience been on TikTok, and what would you recommend to someone first starting out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this is how I did it at the start. Going to spin some knowledge right here. Yeah. So you pretty much go to your niche or whatever. So say you're starting a clothing brand, you look at the hashtags for like how to start a clothing brand.
Yeah.
You filter out by like highest to lowest views, and then look what's like trending. Like go into the way I did it. I'm just going to spill this. For sure. You get 10 accounts, open up in different tabs. Look at what like topic lines are like doing the most views for all of these companies, write it in a spreadsheet and start replicating those ads. Like do your own spin on it, but like replicate those ads that are doing well for them. Like, because they have massive topic lines or whatever they've done to being like, oh, like I know a massive one at the moment for small business clothing brands is like, this is what I got from, this is what I sent my manufacturer and this is what I got. Like that's a massive one at the moment. Sure. But like there's new ones always coming through like that. So you always got to be like,
alert.
Alert or like changing your topics and see what works and what doesn't.
Even what we were talking about off the camera before, and you were saying like, man, consumers are like getting real smart and like a trend. That's why kind of trends only last like
not even
a week.
They're doing like a day at the moment. It's almost like you can't even on TikTok. You can't even do trending sounds anymore unless you're like within the hour of finding them. So there's not even any point. Like
it's crazy.
Like and also like with TikTok, another thing I wanted to say was just like storytelling, man. Like that's like even about your brand is like how you've gone in the last 2 years. You've been like, oh yeah, I've changed the direction of the company from like Japanese anime like to doing a lot more Japanese and create like different design stuff now. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, 100%. I think that's something I've kind of been lacking, you know. Haven't really showed my face up until TikTok. Because I never wanted
because I don't even know. Because I don't really know who like owned the brand or whatever. When I was
like, how many people are coming? You know?
I messaged you. I was like, oh, who? Like, how many people are coming to this? Are you the only owner?
Yeah. So I started it on my own, but my best mate, he does like all graphics and animations and stuff for me, and he lives like down the road. So like, man, I'm always chilling at his house, and we're always like coming up with ideas. So I can't really say I do it on my own. You know, I've got so many people helping me, but I guess like all the ideas and stuff come from up here.
I'm just like, get this onto a piece of paper for me.
Fully. I think
the idea is the hardest bit though, you know what I mean? Like you coming up with those pants, like no one's doing them in Melbourne or even Australia.
Fully. Know? I think even just researching a lot, you know, and I don't think it's a bad thing getting inspiration off some of your favorite brands, you know?
No.
Like I feel like I get a lot of inspiration from Japanese brands, you know? So yeah, and obviously getting inspiration from what influences you, if that's hip hop, skateboarding, snowboarding, whatever, you know, just tapping into that. And especially like when you kind of get off track, having like your inspirations or something to come back to just to remind you, okay, this is what we're about, you know, just so you don't get off course. That's what I kind of implement, because I feel like the first couple of years I was kind of getting off course a bit too much and just trying to do everything. And
going down a rabbit hole of like somewhere that you're not supposed to be going. But you said you just talked about hip hop.
Yeah.
Hip hop's a massive influence in your brand. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I just think being a skateboarder and just listening to it since I was a kid, it's just had a massive, I guess, effect on my life, and I just love listening to it. So I guess it's kind of, as I was saying about like the Japanese culture, it kind of just came naturally to embed that into my brand. And various ways I do it is just, you know, through slang, the hip hop slang. I like using that. Like if I'm doing like a post, I'll put like a lot of hip hop slang into that.
Captions are very user friendly. Like
cool. So I think like that's a good way we differentiate from the others.
Because you're like just to put you on a thing, you're probably one of the most unique brands in Australia at the moment.
Cheers, man. I appreciate that. So I think like just doing what kind of comes natural to me and what's influenced me through my life. That's kind of what I'm putting into my brand. Yeah,
that's sick. Like anything like happening. So what's your like 5-year plan then? Because you said before we got onto the air, you're like, oh, you might be moving to Japan next year.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that'll be like an inspiration year, or do you reckon it'll be you'll still run the business but in Japan? Or
that's what I'm hoping to do. Still run the business but be in Japan. My dad actually doesn't work.
Oh yeah, sweet.
So and he like loves packing the orders and stuff. Like whenever I'm away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be an option. But I'd love to go live there, man. I've got so many friends over there, and even just being there for like the week or two that I was there, just the inspiration and just the people that I met was man, I think it could like move me forward many years ahead, you know, like.
If you've heard this podcast before as well, I'm always saying like Japanese culture's 5 years ahead, 5 to 10 years ahead.
With anything, technology,
like
transport, it's just crazy.
Trends, like fashion, everything. That's where
they're onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sick. And the culture's so good, man. Like, I think the people are just very respectful, nice. Like, it's just a good place to be in, eh? Like, as you would know.
Yeah. It's so good, man. We were talking about it before. I was like, oh, so good.
Just want to get back there, man.
Yeah, I want to get back there. It's like all the food. People are so nice. Like, everyone's friendly. Like, you can be whoever you want as well, which is nice. So that's 100%. Where you get a lot of the inspiration from, like, fashion, because people just do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of the Japanese brands that I love. I feel like there's so much like regimented design and like precision in like what they do. Like even just the content. What do you mean
regimented?
I guess just through their content and just their pieces as well. Like everything's just so clean cut.
Yeah.
Fabrics are so nice. Like I feel like that's the one thing I kind of wasn't really even thinking about like last year is like, how do I want this cut to be or this fabric to feel kind of thing, you know? It's like, that's kind of what I want to start thinking about and just getting the best quality out of my products.
So it's sort of like the 1%ers you want to look into.
Yeah. Yeah, just the small details, because I don't think there's such thing as a small detail with clothing, you know? So I feel like that's something, if I was starting again, I would do from the start, is worry about the small details, you know?
What sort of small details are you talking about? Like on the garment, like patches,
on the garment.
like...
Yeah, so just, I guess, you know, stitching details, like kind of in the pants, you know, little tags you want to put on the pants, or if you want to have strings on the pants, stuff like that, you know, I think can just make a piece go from a 7 to like a 9.5, you know, so.
Well, it's like shows you actually, I think, care about your
100%.
Your stock, where a lot of people just like put stuff together and it's like, oh yeah, that'll do all right.
Just put it out,
Especially a lot of when the brands get a lot bigger, you know what I mean? They don't really, they start taking product not so seriously.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just as much as I want to elevate the product, I want to elevate the content and the messaging and stuff as well.
Do you reckon you'll get like a mixed, like say if you do move to Japan, like you'll get a mixed audience then, because you'll start promoting to Japanese people as well?
I hope so, yeah. I actually was a bit worried, you know, it's like Australian brands influenced by Japan. I was kind of worried how it was going to be received over there, but I got a lot of like praise and a lot of like good kind of feedback from the Japanese, so I was pretty hyped on that, you know. I was kind of, I was so worried, man. I was like, man, because like imagine like a Japanese person coming to Australia with an Australian brand. It's like, oh, what's going on here?
But it's like, it's cool because that's the one thing I would have worried about, being like, oh, am I respecting them enough to be like,
so I'm always like kind of trying to think of that, you know.
Yeah, in the back of your mind, which is a good like moral thing to have as well. You were just in Japan, you did a photo shoot. How did that all go?
Oh, man.
Was that for a new collection coming up?
Yeah, this is for
like winter or
probably like the first like autumn winter collection. So I had a couple of models lined up. One couldn't do it because he got sick. But I had my homie Issei. He was going to model for me, and we did it. And I think I don't think he really modeled before.
Yeah.
And he was a bit shy, and like obviously they don't speak English very well, so kind of didn't go too well. And that was like the second last day, and
then you end up rushing, eh?
Yeah, and I was like, I got back to the hotel room, and I was like, oh damn, that's kind of not how I wanted it to go. But I was like, you know what? I'm in Japan. Like, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I'm just gonna enjoy myself. But then I went out that night with them, and he introduced me to one of his friends, and like this dude was just so fresh, and I just got along with him really well. And I was like, oh, you free tomorrow? Like, would you want to shoot? And he's like, yeah, man, I'm down. And like the next day, so hungover, because we went to this like underground like hip hop show, probably one of the best nights of my life. That was all like rapping Japanese, so I had no idea what was going on, but it was so fresh. But yeah, like got home at like 7 a.m, slept. Then we did this shoot, and man, I was getting some of the photos that I like dreamt about when I was like back home, and I'm like, oh, I was almost going to tear up, man, because I was like, oh, this is so sick. You know, it was such like a surreal moment, you know, just shooting like clothing brand in Japan. Like it was just so cool for me, man.
Japanese style brand in Japan.
Yeah, no, it was sick. I didn't want to leave. That's why I kind of want to go back, you know.
Yeah, so you got the photos that you wanted. So when are these going to be dropping? So end of autumn. Are they going to be hoodies, sweaters?
Nah, so I think it'll be these pants, a waterproof jacket, this sling bag as well, and probably those jeans. And that'll probably be dropping. It's hard to say, but I think like a month and a half.
Oh, that gives you a bit of time to like. Yeah, you've already got the content all organized, so it's just like
getting the sample back, the bulk order back, and then you know taking the photos, stuff like that for the website. That takes a bit of time, but yeah, should be out soon.
How was it from like the start, like say increasing numbers from like when you first started 2 years ago to now, like knowing how much to buy and what like quantities wise?
It's hard, because you don't know how well a product's going to do.
That's what I mean. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I think actually one thing I learned from the Mercher boys, we kicked it like a month or so ago.
The funny thing about the Mercher boys, they came on the podcast when they had 1,000 followers, and then they got big.
Now look at them.
Yeah, they're huge.
So sick. They were kind of just saying, you know, if something sells really fast, do a pre-order after that. Because then that's a good way, you know, so if people miss out, everyone can kind of get a product. That's if you're not trying to restock stuff, you know, it's like sell out, do a pre-order so everyone kind of gets something, and then.
Yeah, it's because they did it with those jorts as well.
Yeah. So I think, you kind of never know, man. But yeah, I think that's kind of a good way, and that's kind of like a thing I want to implement.
Especially, do you reckon you'll be doing restocks, or it'll just be
trying not to? Trying not to for sure. Because I think there's just so much stuff to make and so much stuff that I want to make.
Your head's probably just going like
just ticking all the time, man. So I think trying not to restock, just so we kind of have a variety in product as well. And just so we're not like releasing the same stuff as well. And I think it's always exciting if you've got new stuff coming. Well,
people always only would just really want new stuff as well. Like people want to be a part of the hype and a part of the community. It builds a better community, I think.
Yeah, fully. No, I agree, man.
Yeah, and so have you got much planned for winter then? Did you shoot any of the winter stuff when you're over in Japan, or was it just all autumn?
Yeah, no, it's most like winter, autumn.
So it'll be like all through.
Yeah, I made sure I didn't... I tried to get as many products, as many as the samples, 80 to 90% finished, so I could take them to Japan. But I think like half of them didn't really work out. So I just took what I could and then shot it there. But then the rest of the collection, I'll just shoot in Melbourne, you know.
Yeah, just
like around the streets and stuff like that.
That one's always cool.
Yeah,
How have you like done like on that topic with Melbourne culture? How have you found the Melbourne culture? Has it been like accepting of the brand? And
yeah, I think so. I think like Melbourne, or that like with the fashion, it's almost like Japan in a sense that they really like alternative stuff, but also like progressive fashion compared to other cities in Australia, I guess.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. I guess it's been like really good so far, and I'm keen to just see where it goes, man, because I'm having so much fun with it.
How is the hip hop scene in Australia? Because I don't really like go to hip hop gigs because it's not that huge, Like in Melbourne.
I guess there's like, I guess you can kind of go to like a laundry bar and stuff like that. But I don't. Yeah, I kind of just listen to 90s hip hop and stuff like that. So I'm just stuck in the 90s, man.
Who's your favorite hip hop artist?
Don't do that to me. I'd say...
Or your top three.
Top three.
Top three will be easier because then you're just like,
yeah.
Like then people will start judging you.
I think like Lord Finesse, definitely one. Big L and Group Home. Yeah, a lot of like 90s.
Are you going to base a lot of stuff like, do you know how 90s sort of hip hop fashion, where it's like tall tees or big tees and like oversized denim jackets and shit? Are you going to start getting into more hip hop, like 100%. Nostalgia 90s pieces as well?
Yeah, I think like with a lot of denim, I like to incorporate that 90s like kind of hip hop feel. And yeah, definitely like the tees and stuff like that.
Because they're just like big boxy tees and they're just like 5XL and stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of where it started in the 90s. Because, this is just what a friend told me back in the 90s. A lot of these people in like low socioeconomic areas, a lot of their stuff was hand-me-downs, so that's why they wore a lot of oversized. And I just reckon that's so like sick, Like
and even in the 90s, the only time you really like it only started coming in where it was like 3, 4, 5XLs. Were through the 90s, because you get like look at all 80s compared to 90s. It's all just like
because 80s was like real skinny, tight. It's
like
funny.
We struggle
we
struggle to sell the 80s stuff because it's so tight, and then like everyone loves oversized, and like the 90s is like way better, but it was off like hip hop. Yeah, that was the reason why people were wearing big stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like would you agree that through customers in your store, you can kind of foresee trends just through like what people are buying in terms of, because like I feel like your store, just even looking through before, the variety of pieces is just crazy. Because
you can see like like people buying this type of like, well, even now it's like Adidas and Reebok are making a random trend at the moment. So
like, like the jackets?
No, just t-shirts. Like just t-shirts, sweaters, everything. Like Adidas, Reebok are like coming in for some reason. Like I don't know how they make trends like that, but like
TikTok, I guess
I've noticed it from like the last maybe couple months where I've been like, oh, this is going to be a trend. Like Adidas, Reebok are coming in, and like you can see it.
And
like,
do you like start like kind of going out and buying more stuff related to that?
Yeah, pretty much. Sick. Like that's how we do it. So we can see that, and then it's like, oh, people want that. But like Nike's always been a massive thing. Like it was such a big thing in the 90s.
Yeah.
And like all their designs were way better than they are now, and like they had t-shirts that were made to last,
Yeah. It's crazy how I feel like even you can foresee trends even just through TikTok.
That's what I mean.
Like what people are wearing and what people are like kind of promoting on there, which is cool. I reckon it's sick.
The way I like to do trends is probably like traveling, like seeing trends is like going overseas and being like
experiencing it.
Yeah, I know a massive one is like the scene in Korea at the moment is fucked. I'm going over there for 5 days to have a look.
Amazing.
Just at the fashion, like how they're dressing, because they're pretty much like on par with Japan, but they've got two completely different styles.
So different. Yeah, I spent 5 days after Japan there.
Oh, how was?
In South Korea. It's very different, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people said to me that it's similar to Japan.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, because I've never been either.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot different. I reckon the only thing that's kind of similar is the trains. Like getting around is very easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sense of fashion is very different, I reckon. A lot of people are wearing like, it's hard to even describe. Like,
yeah, that's what I've heard.
It's just like, their own style. Like it's so sick. I reckon it's
like people were trying to describe it to me, and I was just like, what? Like,
yeah, you can't even explain it. Like, but yeah, I actually saw. So I was taking. It's gonna sound weird, but I was taking photos of like cool shit that people were wearing.
Yeah. That's not weird. I do that man. All the time. I'm like,
man, sorry. Like, I really needed to just take a photo of that sick jacket you're wearing. This chick had this like leather jacket, but it was like a puffer. And I was like, man, I've never seen that before. That is so random. Cool. And it was like boxy as well. And I was like, damn, that's something I definitely want to like think about.
With.
Yeah, 100%. Like leather jackets and stuff are going to be sick.
Yeah, that's like crazy because it's just like so different to like Melbourne fashion.
Yeah.
But like that's where it's heading as well.
Yeah.
That's what's so exciting. So it's like I can go to these places and then like it'll trend in Australia later. You know what I mean? Or
it usually does become a trend like a year later here, doesn't it? Like even with the parachute pants, like I guess like this.
They were doing them when I was living there. That was 7 years ago.
7 years ago. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, it eventually comes around here, doesn't it?
I was like, oh yeah, eventually it'll come there. But it's like you've probably seen a lot from Korea and Japan that I reckon is going to be fucking good as for your brand, man.
Yeah, man. That's why, definitely want to try and get over there next year and try and just be around that, because I feel like when you're around it all the time, that's when it's gonna inspire you more to want to make it. You know, 'cause there's only so much you can do from in Australia. You know?
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like, hopefully, you get a lot of inspiration from over there. But yeah, man.
What's your kind of I guess like 5-year plan, or how do you want like official vintage to look?
5-year plan. I'd do this all the time, but I reckon just multiple stores. Like we're testing out like overseas. I'm not going to go into it, but like
amazing.
This will be like a big thing, and then obviously just stores in Australia. Because with vintage, it's a bit different. Like we do really well online, but I think people want to come in and try stuff because like say with one of your tees or whatever, it's like you've got your set tee or style of tee that you do.
Yeah.
Or like you might do 3 or 4 styles of different t-shirt shapes. Whereas like, I don't know, there was a lot of brands in the 90s that were, some of the cuts of the tees were just like narrow cuts.
Yeah.
Some of the cuts are super boxy.
And you've got so many brands as well, so it's hard, Like,
so then like, I think a lot more people want to come into the store. Like we get so many people in the store like throughout the week and stuff, which is dope. And then like, I think we do want to build that store culture in Australia, because it's like a slowly dying thing of like brick and mortars, you know what I mean?
Sad, Like, and I think it's such a good experience as a customer, like going into a store. And I feel like
especially if you got good staff like that work for you and they want to work for you, you know, it's like
fully.
I think we're like currently at like 80 5-star reviews on Google, like mental.
Dude,
like
that's insane.
It's like experience, you know, like
that's amazing. And what would you say? How do you keep like the culture in your store, or how do you keep people loving coming to work?
You just make it like a friendly environment. I think like we try every idea or we put it out there, and it's just like, oh yeah, should we do this? Like, is it feasible? And then everyone's like, yep. Yeah. And just like all the banter, man. Like, it's all about the shit talking. You know what I mean?
100%.
But yeah, it's just like what I was saying before. It's like, it's hard to find good staff as well. And when you've got them, you want to keep them, because like everyone wants to like move on. Like everyone wants to like do new jobs every year or two. Like TikTok's been a massive thing in that, because like people can't even concentrate for 10 seconds, let alone like 2 seconds, or be in a company for like a year, you know?
Yeah, I'm a culprit of that.
Yeah. So it's just like a classic thing, but it's just is what it is. And if you can keep people there for like, we've had people there for like 3 or 4 years now, and it's just like,
that's
like,
what
it means you're doing something right, you know what I mean?
Fully, man.
Do you reckon you'll be getting anyone on board like with your brand?
I think
like maybe moving forward?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it. I think I kind of want to get into a space first, because I've just got...
Oh yeah, I was about to ask, so that's what I should have asked at the start.
It's in my mum's living room. Yeah. She's definitely not happy about it. There's just shit exploding everywhere. Yeah. So I think finding a space this year is going to happen. So yeah, I kind of want to move into a space first, get settled, and then maybe just think about that.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying, like in-store experience, I feel like that's why I've kind of got my website, you know, set up with like the Game Boy, and it's like an experience. Like,
if anyone who's listening, go onto what's the website? Shinzo Street Tribe.
Yeah. www.shinzostreettribe.com.
Yeah. And it's the best website ever. I got on it, and I was like, no chance, mate. I was like, this is sick.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. I feel like the reasoning for that is obviously it's sick. Like, that's kind of what I've grown up with, but people can't come into your store. So I feel like I want to give them an experience online. Yeah. You know, if they can't get that in store and like you can't have that interaction, why not give them an experience on the website?
You probably just heard it in my voice just then. I was just like, yeah, so good.
Getting around it.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely got that experience on the website. The first time I went on, I was like, bro, this is fucking sick, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, I think like that's kind of important to think about if you're wanting to start an online brand is how do you want people to interact on your site and stuff like that?
Because it's such a massive thing, like we were just saying before, like an experience in store, like or experience online.
Because people remember it.
People are going to tell their mates.
Yeah,
like, now I'm going to be like I might be like to 5 other people, bro, look at this website. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
And people like
100%.
look on it, it was like, oh, this vintage store was sick. Like they were so nice, and like the aesthetic of the place was sick and a bit different. They had a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, fully. It's all about experience and relationship, eh?
Because people like, people want to leave your store feeling happy, and it's like, it's actually like a thing in your brain that goes off when you're like, your happy hormones come in when you leave a store, and you're like, oh, then you feel safe going back to that store.
100%.
You know what I mean?
You want to go back. Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's like, oh, like that store gave me this feeling, so I'm gonna go back. It's like when you watch movies and stuff. Like you rewatch movies because you're like,
I want that same feeling.
That gave me that feeling when I watched it the first time, and that's the same as store. Like having your own store, having your own website as well.
Definitely. No, that's great advice, man.
Yeah, all the advice.
Getting into it.
Yeah, that was good, man. Do you just want to tell us your Instagram? Maybe we'll end it there just because I could fucking talk to you all day, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's at Shinzo Tribe.
Yeah.
So SHINZO and then Tribe.
Sweet. And website, TikTok, all the same?
All the same. Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Too easy. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Nah, thank you.
I really
heaps, man.
appreciate it, brother.
I had heaps of fun.
Yeah.
My man.
So good. All right. Thanks, brother.
Man. Peace.
Too easy.